Hey, welcome back to Mindset Explosion. Of course, season 5. We're on episode 18 for season 5. Joined today by Danny Matthews. Really looking forward to this one, Danny. So we're talking about being a creative genius, which was what people often say to yourself. So we'll find out more a little bit what that's about in just a sec, on how you got started, and obviously you get a chance to talk about some of the great work that you do. We just had a nice chat offline, which is interesting. So wouldn't mind finding out a bit more what you do for the college and the time you give out. If you're listening on the podcast, of course, drop in a 5-star review. If you've got any questions throughout, whether it be you're listening on a repost or you're re-listening to it later on or live, drop a question in. One of us will definitely be able to answer it. We'll get back to you. Danny, great to have you on board.
Thanks for having me.
Well, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit more about what you do, and then we'll get into our little quick fire round, as I call it, but everyone knows that listeners is not that quick fire.
Yeah, good stuff. Where do I start? Well, ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to be a designer. And so like a graphic designer or a cartoonist or do voices for cartoons and all that stuff. And I went to an all-boys, what eventually became a sports academy. And the kind of support or encouragement to do a creative career wasn't really there. You're either a swimmer or a football player or a rugby player. That was pretty much your option. So I never really got the support or encouragement to do what I really wanted to do and what I was passionate about. So I ended up having a decade in financial services, eventually leaving me with no feeling from the waist down in an episode of burnout. And I made a decision then to go for it, I guess, and follow my passion again. So I've run a design studio for the last 4 years, and we generally work with startups to get them to funding stage with really good branding and messaging, but also smaller micro businesses who are really looking for that reigniting of the fire or rising from the ashes like a phoenix kind of feeling. We tend to refer to it as.
Oh, brilliant. I would imagine there might have been a bit more of a call for that coming out of COVID. Have you found that?
Yeah, it's funny that the story that I used to tell about the clients that we generally work with used to be that there is between about 3 and 7 years of being in business, there is this plateau, and people generally want help to be able to reignite a passion or to just be a little bit more confident in who they're targeting or what they're saying or how they're communicating and how they put themselves out into the world, visually through logos and colors and those things. And then through the pandemic, I think that's why I didn't see a massive drop off. There were struggles in other areas, but certainly from that point of view, we were still attracting the same kind of clients. It was just a slightly different reason, repositioning or trying a different market or new products or new services, whatever it might be. So yeah, the conversations were only very slightly different, but all working towards the same kind of outcome.
I can relate to that a little bit, just from my own business. Really, it's I think it is easy to get a bit stagnant, and I felt that at times, and where I've then had to, I wanted to step back a little bit more and push the team forward. But it's so true. It's just easy to get caught in the same. I suppose most things in life, you can get caught in that little bit of a rut, and before we know it, we're, as someone used to say to me, so yeah, hopefully there's light at the end of the tunnel if you're having tough times, but as long as it's not a freight train, so you got to do something about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into our quick fire round. Hi, Sarah. Thank you. We are having a few connection problems today, but it's getting recorded, so you'll be able to consume it on the podcast next week or on YouTube in a few days' time, or switch over to Facebook. It's running 2 areas there. I cover all areas. That's all good. So our quick fire, not so quick fire round. Do you prefer, for your own personal development, do you look for podcast or YouTube?
Podcast.
Have you got a preferential one? That's not Mindset Explosion, but you can promote that if you like.
Secret Leaders by a guy called Dan Murray Serter. I was going to choose Diary of a CEO, but I think it's over mentioned. But Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett, or Secret Leaders by Dan Murray Serter, who runs a company selling brain supplements called Heights. Really, really fascinating stuff.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, brilliant. It's nice to get different ones, see. Probably answered my questions, generally does, but book or audio?
Definitely audio. I'm a terrible. I think I can say now. I'm writing a book, but I'm a terrible writer, and I'm just as terrible at reading. So yeah, audio is like my savior. I tend to get gifted. I tend to get gifted Audible gift cards because people know that I just don't read. So I think I've got like a year and a half left.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that one though for gifting. I'm the same. I used to love reading, and then the audio. How do you consume that? Is it on your way to the office, or do you work from home?
Yeah, it kind of depends what it is. The story-led stuff, where it's like maybe a history of a founder or something like that, is much more. I can digest that when I'm in the car on the way somewhere or on a journey. If it's more educational based or like tips or information, I usually just headphones in with like a notepad and just actually consume it. And I just figured that if I'm listening to it and scribbling stuff and drawing little pictures and all that, I just assume that I'm taking it in properly. So yeah, I try to double up.
No, that's good. I like it. I like it. I guess you kind of mentor your clients a little bit, but for yourself, do you have a mentor or mastermind, or do you go your own way?
Yeah, I've had not so much I think mentors for me have always been like mentors from afar. I think we've got such good access to information now. It's really easy to learn and be mentored by people you've never met in person, really. So from a mentor point of view, that's probably the case. From a coach point of view, I've had a lot of different coaches for different things. So mindset, for example, and then to do specific things in the business, whether it's to implement something or create something, whatever it might be. I've hired coaches when I need to achieve something specific.
Brilliant. And obviously that helps you drive forward, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's funny, the mixture of like mindset coaching and practical implementation type stuff is I think a great compliment, because there's always things the coaches for implementation are usually skill specific. They can talk you through how to implement things and the mindset around that, but they can't from a holistic overall point of view. So I do find that it does complement it a bit with having a general overview of mindset, not just in business but personal as well.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice as well. And this sometimes could be a bit of a curveball question for people, but who is your most influential person, past or present or made up?
Well, that is a good question.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Yeah, do you know, I'd probably go for a fictional character. I'd probably go for someone like Mowgli off the Jungle Book. I think to be out in the jungle on your own with some scary animals and to get through it and find your way back to humanity is probably a really good metaphor for what we're going through at the minute.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, the Jungle Book was used for the Cub Scout movement, so good lessons.
Yeah.
But for me, it might have turned me into a pyromaniac. At the time, at a young age, I'm not anymore. So I'm going to be a pyromaniac and just set fire to stuff. And we're allowed to do it. All right. So obviously you introduce yourself, and we may just recover some old ground here, but what was your main purpose for what you do? What was your what is your big why? Now, I know it can change over time, but at the moment, what's your why or purpose, or what was it?
Yeah, if we're talking like really high level purpose, I have a statement that covers it, which is to advance humanity through creativity. And that covers a lot of things for me, but really it comes from the belief that, everything, if you think about, everyday life, the things we use, the things we see and touch and smell and taste, everything in our day-to-day life has been created outside of the natural world, has been created because people sat in a room around a table and made decisions about what problem this solves. So advancing humanity through creativity really is my way of communicating that I do, everything and everyone and even every place has a brand. And I think if we really understood the power of that, we could use it to change the world, for want of a better phrase. We could use it to solve the world's biggest problems, because we would be able to communicate it clearly to the people that care the most, and get their involvement, their ambassadorship, or whatever you want to call it. So I truly think branding can really change the world if you use it in the right places, but also used in the wrong places can do just as much damage. So I believe in doing good with it, which is where the advance in humanity comes in.
No, I love that, Danny, and you're absolutely right. We've got our own personal brand, whether we like it or not, and we're also running our own personal business, whether it's our life. So yeah, I love the way you put it, that everything has been created for us, naturally, unnaturally, whatever. So and just the part where you said about people have sat down and thought, well, how can we make this better? And it's that's, I guess, a lot of us in business is what we do. Someone suggested we treat ourselves as a doctor, because we solve problems and diagnose something, and we give that solution to it. Yeah, I love that. So in terms of the creativity, do you find that like every day you see something, like how is it, like that? How does that work with your mind?
That's almost the secret sauce. That's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's so I've just done a talk at a college local to me, and they were talking about ideas, because they're doing like a Dragon's Den pitch, and someone said, I said, what's the problem? Why are you struggling so much to come up with ideas? And a lot of it was around not knowing if it would work or not. And then someone said, it's just because everything, the things that you use every day have been created because people sat around a table and said, you know what? This Nokia is rubbish because people are starting to watch videos on their phone. Why don't we create something with a screen, a little bit like a telly, and just make it smaller so people can watch stuff on their phone? Like, literally, people sat around the table and said that, in a roundabout way. So yes, everything's done before, but they haven't done it in a way that you want. Haven't had your personal experiences that were used to create it. So there's always, the iPhone is now on iteration 11. If you think about it in iterations, like they got 10 wrong, there's something wrong with 10. So they just made it better. They made it, able to do something that the 10 couldn't do, and they do that all the time with technology. So if you think about it in iterations, it kind of helps you to start at least, make a start, and then to perfect it over time. You can't let that hold you back.
That last phrase is so important. And in business, everything. And I think, I know you know Rob Moore, but one of his, I think, is start first, get perfect later, and a lot of entrepreneurs say it, and I think it is so true, isn't it? Because until you start, you're never gonna. We talked before about you just said that you do a lot for the university to help graduates and get experience, but people got to start first, right?
Yeah, exactly. People actually have to go, okay, let's do that then. And sometimes it's funny, it's like 0 to 1 is like it feels like the biggest leap, like the biggest gap, but 1 to 2 is like this. So like, just to do that, get from A to B is like the biggest step you can take, and then C to Z is like the easiest little steps you can make. So yeah, it's just about getting started and taking that leap. And yeah, it's I think what a lot of people are missing at the moment is just that encouragement to go, if it doesn't work, you've still got 89 years of your life to work it out. So don't worry.
Yeah.
And getting that across is really difficult.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you're right. I think the first steps are the hardest, but then we get a nice bit of muscle memory or whatever, so we keep going. What's your biggest challenge that you've had, and how did you overcome it?
My biggest challenge was overcoming the deep-seated thought that money was the most important thing. The whole me having a burnout episode kind of story came because I was chasing money, and I got to the stage where nothing else mattered. Like everything else was pushed by the side. There was no health or family or relationships, or I mean, there was, but you wouldn't think it the way I was going about life. So my biggest challenge has been that thought that if you focus on what you love and yourself, the rest will follow. And it doesn't grow on trees and all those things. And later on in life, you realise that it's not the most important thing, you know. And actually, there's so much to life if you just let the money go, you know, and treat it as a flow that comes in and out. And you know, I'm not particularly spiritual in any way, even though my grandma was one of the most well-known mediums in the world. But I'm not kind of spiritual in any way. But I do believe that, you know, you put out what you get in, and or the other way around. So I realized at one point that all the anxiety I had around money and trying to grow and get more of it and all those things, actually it was much nicer that I could say, I'm going to spend this money because I know it will come from somewhere. And I don't know that yet, but I know it will, because that's how the world works. Someone wants to buy something, maybe not now, but in 3 weeks. That's the way it goes, you know. But the more that I put the intention out of that, I'm not trying to hold on to it. It's, you know, I need to spend it to get it, kind of thing. Then that helped me. That helped my mindset and my mind get around the fact that I don't need to chase money anymore. I can also spend it, and it will come in as well. So yeah, probably not the best way of articulating it, but it's definitely been a money mindset from a young age,
I think that's common for a lot of people, though, Danny, and certainly for myself. Really, you know, we're taught like doesn't grow on trees, just blah 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 blah, and I think when you step away and you have that purpose, the passion, you obviously care so much about your clients and giving your time, that the rest will come, really. And all the money is at the end of the day, it's just an energy. It flows the same as a relationship. So it comes just from having those great relationships that you've set up with the people around you, I feel. Yeah, and it's all right to be a bit woo-woo. I've embraced mine now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So how did you develop that mindset? Make that change?
It was working with a mindset coach like you, working on mindset and doing it. You know, I've just preached about telling these students that they just need to start and they need to make the leap or whatever. But I needed to make that leap one day where I chose to take on a client because it's not that profitable, but it will be an amazing experience. Or like I took the little job because actually I missed doing a little job every now and again, or and it not being about the money, but not thinking actually if I don't take this big job, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills, and I'm going to have people on my back, and I'm not going to enjoy the work. It's such a weird. It's just a weird state to change from and into. The point. I even get it now when people ask questions about who I work with, and I'm like, whoever I want. And it doesn't matter about the money, because it's much easier to say no now to prospects or clients, knowing who I want to work with, than just taking everything on because of the money. But what's the point? Because I know I'll get 70% into this job and hate it. And I'll hate waking up in the morning, and I'll hate that I've got to go to my laptop and open it and get designing or whatever. I'll just be miserable, And I learned something really interesting about happiness throughout my journey, and through listening to people like Mo Gawdat and other people that have been through burnout and those kinds of things, but it's a state. Like I always thought I was like looking to be happy, like for happiness to just be like a result or a goal, for example. But as soon as I realized that it's a state and we can flow in and out of it, and we just need to do more things to keep us in it for longer, that was so much better.
Yeah.
It was so much better than like worrying about stuff. So yeah, that was definitely a part of it.
Well, that's answered my next question, which was your biggest aha moment, I think. So
I think there's a bit of a delay.
That's it, yeah.
And you popped in and out. I'm sure you'll get back.
We got a bit of connection problems. Those watching on live, we got a massive lag. I'm not a fan of the. I'm going to blame it on the blood moon. So yeah, we'll take it on that one. Put the Wi-Fi down, crashed everyone out. But yeah, I think you've answered the question there, Daniel. The next one, which is what was your big aha moment? And it's great advice you're giving, because I think everyone goes for it, or someone may possibly about to go for it, or just starting, feeling it. Especially if you're in business, it's a normal thing. It's part of the journey. Hang in there, and I think that whether you want to call it enlightenment or not, it's something that just
it's not. It's definitely not like deliberate. It's definitely not like a deliberate awkward silence.
No, it's not a deliberate awkward silence. No. It's lagging that much. You're answering a question from me. Oh my God, this is gonna be a fun one. So, what's been your biggest win? Oh, that's lagging so bad.
God, it sounds really dicky. No, but yeah, my biggest win. Can I be cheesy and say my wife? No. One of my first clients was a guy called Ben, who was a personal trainer from Newbury, had a big idea for the fitness world and wanted to take old unused retail and office space and turn them into one-person gyms. So you could rent it for an hour. And I remember speaking to him, and he said, I've got this idea. It's called Solo 60. And someone can book a one-person gym for an hour through an app on their phone. And he had these big ideas about, having set the temperature of the room and the playlist, so when you walk in, it becomes like your environment. And I thought it was a really interesting idea. It was at the very beginning of his journey, I guess. And I said, yeah, I'd love to help you. Like, what's the goal? And he said, well, I need to go to investors and get some investment. So I need to like make it look really good and be able to, persuade them. So we basically created the brand. We built a prototype of the app that he wanted to have. So it wasn't real. It was just like a prototype you could use. And he went and got investment at £1 million valuation. And he didn't even have a customer. He had no customer, and no one even knew about it. And it was purely because of like the confidence that investors had from being able to use this app as if it was already real. And he was obviously a great like charismatic presenter, and was able to put the vision of the company over really well through the messaging and stuff that we built. That was a real success story that I'm still riding off now. And I'm probably with 5 sites now in London. I think he's got another 3 planned. I think he's valued at about 8 million or something, and just raised another round. So that was great. It was the most enjoyable, one of the most enjoyable jobs that we did, and had such a great result that it's worth shouting about.
Oh, definitely. Being in the fitness industry in a way through my martial arts stuff, that's massive. Yeah, brilliant. Love that. What did I think of that? Damn it. Oh, great achievement. Great achievement. So what sort of things are you working on at the moment? Have you got anything exciting coming up for your business, or I know you got the stuff.
So I've just taken on a couple of branding projects, and I'm waiting to hear on one. Which, if that happens, that will be a big turning point for the business. Not because, and again, not because of money or anything. It's just it's an industry and a theme I think are perfect for each other. It's like quite a niche thing. I obviously can't talk about it, but it will be the first client of its kind for me, and the type of client I've wanted to work with for a long time, and the opportunity's finally come around. So I should hear about that this week. But yeah, I've just taken on 2 clients from America as well, and really grateful that we can just work anywhere and all around the world, and that kind of thing, being industry it is. But I think the biggest thing on my mind at the minute is I've just started writing a book. So that's another thing going on in the business, apart from client work. But I love doing this kind of stuff, podcast interviews and presenting to students and businesses and that kind of stuff. So I've got to be honest, since the pandemic, and since I made a decision to implement a lot of like automation and customer experience stuff in the business, all I do now is stuff like this and designing and now the book, obviously, but they're the only things I want to do. And I think if we can get ourselves in that place where we're just doing those couple of things that we really want to do daily, it changes everything, man. And I'm really, really grateful that I've got to this stage. So yeah, every day is a school day, every day is a winning day, as long as I'm doing the things I want to do. I guess.
Oh, brilliant. That's such great advice, though. I wish I'd had that when I was at college or school. Definitely. I think it was when I was traveling. I was in Byron Bay in Australia, and some hippie said, best job you can have is your hobby. I was like, damn it, I need a hobby. I need to get back into martial arts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The journey that would take me on. It's just interesting. So I'll come back to your book in a minute. But I think it's nice when you got that, you can do step away. The goal for me was to step away so I had time for my children, for example. But then it freed me up for more time to do podcasts and all the other stuff, and then do other business stuff that just drove me more crazy. Damn it, I've got to step away from that now. But I think it highlighted really, I think for me, I got to have a challenge. And I guess for you, like that perfect client, it's nice when you got that, you're in that position where you can decide, well, these are clients I want to work with. And I think that's so valuable because you can do more of a service for those people. And I was a bit the same, Danny, in the class of martial. We'll just take anyone. Come and sign up. And not for the money, just trying to help as many people as I could. But it didn't work out so great. And I found that when we controlled a bit more of who we would take on, that it became so much more fun. It's more exciting. And I guess it's a great position to be in, that you can pick and choose. And you've obviously put it out to the universe, if we want to call it that, and we're attracting, repelling all the time. So you're obviously attracting in the people that you want to work with, which is important, because then you can do the service that you want to give them. I think that's great. So tell us a bit more about the book. Are you allowed to say anything?
Kind of, I guess. It's like it's early stages, but I wrote a book a couple of years ago that never got published, and I ended up just publishing it as a series of articles on Medium. And the reason for that was that it was a different industry. I was in a different headspace, and what needed to happen after the whole burnout episode is I needed to clear the decks. Like, I couldn't have this book that was written but not published hanging over me, and I didn't want to publish it through fear of people, I guess, getting the wrong idea about where I'm going with my own business. So I said it's useful stuff. I managed to interview some amazing people, because it was at the time, the project I was doing that got me to the stage of burnout was financial services technology. So it was a digital mortgage application, basically. So I met a lot of people from banks and from other fintech companies. And I decided that actually these people are quite influential. It would be worth interviewing them about technology in the industry and that kind of thing. So there was a load of stuff in there, from like CEO of Barclays and the guy who started Metro Bank, Anthony Thompson, who ended up then starting Atom Bank and moving to Australia to set up another one. And, really cool stories to tell. So yeah, I published that. But anyway, so I decided one day I will write a book about what I love. In branding and design. And now I have this I have like unlimited case studies and stuff that I can actually talk about and almost prove that this is a real opportunity for us to change the world if we really want to, through simply doing what we want to do, do it what we do best and running the businesses we love and those things, if we just do it in the right way through what I believe is branding. So I believe branding needs a rebrand because it's viewed, it's such a broad topic that it's viewed in 7 different ways or whatever, and it needs some clarity. So I hope to bring some clarity to what is a broad topic through the work that I've done over the last 3-4 years. So yeah, the title is a work in progress, but it will certainly be a big piece of work. I'm not just doing it for, business card and that kind of thing to put out there. It's part practical steps and part thought leadership. So there's a lot of research in there, but also a lot of process and how to do things. So I'm hoping it'll be a really valuable read for anyone, really, whether you're thinking about starting a business or been running it for a number of years. There'll be something for you.
Oh, I love that. Rebranding, branding. I love it. Sign me up.
It needs it. Like, let me give you an example quickly while I'm here. So I remember that I started speaking to a business coach, and he was talking about like the goals of the business and the mission and those kinds of things, and he referred to it as branding, and I was like, well, yeah, I know that, mission, vision, values, all those things. And then I came across, she said the word branding a few times, and I thought, what are you referring to as branding? And what she was referring to was creating social media templates and making them look like your business. And then I used to be in their merchandise business and that for a short time, and they talk about branding as sticking a logo on a mug and a pen. And I was like, how are 3 people talking about branding in completely different ways? The problem for me was they're all right. And that's where the problem is. They're all actually correct. What I said earlier about us all having a brand and places having a brand and things having a brand, it's our job as business owners to be able to do things and take actions that influence how our brand is perceived positively. So yes, you do that with everything. Of course you do. So that's really the problem, but I hope to be able to distill it into what I now call brand confidence, which is kind of the problem and the solution. And yeah, so I'll break that down and make sure everyone can understand exactly what thing fits in what bucket and how it affects their business and how it helps them to grow or not in some cases. Yeah, so it's a big piece of work.
I love it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Okay. Just finishing up, Danny, if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Happiness is your responsibility.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
And nobody else's. You are responsible for your own happiness. And that goes a lot deeper than it sounds. Like most of the problems and issues and challenges I've come across in life are because of my personality type, probably trying to make other people happy. Because I thought that would make me happy. But it's amazing what happens when you do stuff to make you happy first. And a lot of people say, now you have this, this purpose about advancing humanity, and it all sounds very fluffy and flouncy and brilliant. What's next? And I always say, a funny thing happens when you find your purpose and you're making everyone else happy, but you can't do it the other way around. You just can't. I've tried it. It doesn't work. It leaves you broken and in bits and no feeling from the waist down, and losing friends and family and work and money and all the rest of it. So my one piece of advice that I would wished someone told me was happiness is my responsibility, and it always comes first.
That's a great piece of advice, Danny. Thank you. I totally resonate with it myself without going into it all. But yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice. Thank you. So I know you're based Gloucestershire area, but you're obviously international, which is great to hear. If someone's interested, how get in contact with you? What's the best way?
Best way, I'm quite public, so connect with me on LinkedIn is probably the easiest place. I'm very public on my personal Facebook profile about the business as well, so feel free to go there if that's your preferred place and you're there right now. But yeah, LinkedIn is usually a good place. I publish not only things about business, but also personal stuff as well, because it's all part of the mix, isn't it? So yeah, you'll get to learn a little bit about me and what I do and the kind of clients that we work with and stuff.
Brilliant. Thank you, Danny. I know you do a lot of work with small groups, big groups, and we found out our networks have overlapped just the way it is. So, so much. I know you're a busy man, so I really appreciate you coming on to talk today, and you dropped some really great bits of advice, really. So yeah, get in touch with Danny. Definitely lovely guy, and again, thank you so much. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'll be back next week. Same bat time. No worries, no worries. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, peace, love, always. Don't forget that 5-star review and share. If you got any questions, drop in any of the comments wherever you're consuming this today. All right. Bye-bye.